This gentleman right here, Howie Roseman, today, well, he's some guys' worst enemy, and some guys, he's their best friend. Final decisions on the Eagles' 53-man roster are in, and we're going to break it all down for you. Plus, Barrett tells us why the final roster may not be exactly the way you see it right now. Let's huddle up. Hey there, welcome Insider Studios. This is Birds Huddle, powered by PointsBet. Alongside Barrett Brooks, I am Amy Fadool, and it's everyone's least favorite day on the NFL calendar, Cutdown Day, where guys hold their breath until that 4 p.m. deadline, hoping their phone does not ring. So Barrett, you've been through a couple of these. Describe the feeling when you actually don't hear the phone call and you know that you're on that 53-man roster.
Oh, it's just like, the best thing since sliced bread. I mean, you're celebrating. You're celebrating with your family. You know you're going to go to practice the next day. You know you're going to get that check come the first Monday. It's a magnificent time. Everybody's partying. But I have been on the other side of that stick where I got the call. In fact, I got a call at 3:45. Oh, no. 3:45. And cut time was 4 o'clock. So I was like the 54th man.
Did you send it to voicemail?
I didn't answer it, actually. I didn't answer it.
I wouldn't answer it.
No, they called me back, though. They were persistent.
They'll still get you, no matter what. They'll text, they'll call, they'll do anything. Well, earlier today, Howie Roseman spoke about this final roster and the cutdowns and what they do now.
Huge compliment to the way coach and staff ran practice, our training staff, our performance staff. At this point, obviously we know there are going to be injuries, but we didn't have a lot of those decisions to make at this moment, and very grateful of that. So you just kind of go with what you're dealt at the time, and so we'll see what happens here in the next 24 hours with the roster. It's a fluid process, and we got a lot of time till the first game.
That's the key, fluid there. Let's check out Barrett's three-point stance presented by your Mercedes. So Barrett, your first stance, the 53-man roster is finished, but not final. It is still fluid. You can see Howie Roseman, he said the same thing.
I mean, exactly. You already said it's fluid.
Fluid.
It's not final. I mean, he said the next 24 hours. We got a long time until, the first game. All those things point towards, all right, you're not settled yet. You still got to go and prove that you're still there. Whether you prove it or not, you still may not be there. I went through that process before. I'm sitting there. I got called. I made the opening day roster. I made it. But it's the week before the first game. They have up until the first game in which they could cut you. And if they cut you before the first game, that means a vested veteran, you don't get a full contract. They're not guaranteeing your contract. Well, I made it to that point, and they cut me, and then they told me, don't go anywhere, stay here. I'm like, what do you mean stay here? Why would I want to stay here? You just cut me. Well, we want to sign you back, but we just don't want you to have your contract guaranteed. I'm like, come on, are you kidding me? I stayed, but I was a little pissed off about it, but I stayed, though. But, I mean, it happens all the time. And during that process, for the first 3 weeks, I would get cut, brought back, it happened 4 times. If you look at it, I was in Green Bay. They cut me, brought me back, cut me, brought me back, cut me, brought me back, until I solidified myself on the roster, then I made the roster, started participating, started playing. Now I was good enough to be on the team. Things got better for me. I ended up playing the entire season, but that's just what happens before the first game. A lot of these veterans are sweating until the first game. That's a long time to go until September 11th.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
I mean, that's a long time away. I mean, and when you look at the roster, there's some surprising guys on this roster that I didn't think were, like Josh Seals. He snuck up on me. I thought Jack Anderson was going to be the guy. I thought he was going to make it. I mean, he was versatile. He plays center, guard, and tackle, but I guess they like his size. Another guy that I didn't think was Reed Blankenship, the guy with the ugliest number on the team, 46. I hope he changes that number.
Yeah, that's not a good
But he made the squad because he should have made the squad.
Yeah. You were high on him yesterday.
Balled. Yeah, I mean, I love him. He balled out there, and they let Harris go. That caught me. I mean, that shocked me. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you never know until you know. And if you're a vested veteran, once you get past September 11th, you're still on the squad, you're good to go. You're cooking with hot grease.
To go. All right, your second stance today. The Eagles' last big move of the offseason, today's trade for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, is actually going to be their most important of the offseason.
Absolutely, because it kind of solidifies what we're doing at the defensive back position. Now, CJ, they call him CJ, Gardner-Johnson. CJ Gardner-Johnson. He's actually a slot corner that can play safety. In fact, they kind of evaluated him when he was in Florida at safety and at cornerback. But I think he's most comfortable at being at that slot cornerback position. A very aggressive player. And if it was me, but I'm not a coach, but I would keep him at the slot position, and I would move Avonte Maddox off to safety. Because then you have a guy that's been in the system, understands the defense, where he needs to be at on certain plays, and he has a firm grasp on how to play the safety position because he's played it before. Yes, CJ has played safety before, had over 80 snaps. Yeah. But at the end of the day, he's at a new system, and he's got a week and a half to really learn what it is to be a safety. So I think it would be the most comfortable thing for this organization is to leave him there where he's great at, where he can be aggressive, where you can just tell him, hey, the guy in between the offensive line and out there at the wide receiver on the outside, you get the guy in the middle. You cover him, whether it's slot, he's sitting back in zone, or if he's man-to-man. He's better by putting him out there, and he can play the game more fluidly because he's not thinking as much. At the safety position, he's going to be thinking, all right, who do I have here? Do I have deep thirds? Do I have the, quarter, half? Whatever it is, he's got to learn that system. And I think he would be better if you put a guy that's played the position in this system before and put him back there, and meaning Avonte Maddox. Then things would go a lot smoother. Now, they're not ruling it out. They haven't said that they are not doing it that way. But I think, it would be the most comfortable thing for them to do is leave him there at the slot position where he can, continue to be aggressive. Because when you don't know, you're not as aggressive. This guy, you want him aggressive. You just want to, sick him out. Hey, go get him, dog. Go get him. You know what I'm saying? Go get him.
Yeah, well, go get him. Go get him right now. Final stance, we're going to get that. The Eagles will be thankful that they kept Jalen Reagor, and Nick Sirianni spoke about that today.
You could definitely see the explosion. That he's never lost that, right? He's had this explosion in his body, and he uses it to separate from the defense. And so, I just thought he had a good camp, and he made plays, and he was more consistent this year throughout training camp.
All right, Barrett, you say the Eagles are not going to regret the move to keep Reagor.
No, I think that he understood. He was in the hot seat, even though he had a pretty good camp. He didn't have a just, out and out, just drag it. I'm the best receiver type of camp. Even though he had the ability to go out there and win the position to be on a 53-man roster, he still had a little eye-waking event when Covey was talking about a lot as far as being a punt returner. And that's basically his job. He is going to be the starting punt returner. He won't get a lot of reps at the wide receiver position, but he will be the guy. So he has to be explosive. He has to show that this is what he needs to do, and he needs to follow through with it and show some production at that. Look at him. He has the size, speed. He has all the intentions to be a great player. It's just him going out there and establishing himself as a great player. Maybe he sees something now in himself that will allow him to go ahead and open up as a player as opposed to, just sitting back and not really being explosive as he should be.
Yeah.
You have like A.J. Brown. He's a guy that's explosive. You see, Smith going out there. He's more explosive now because he's seen what A.J. Brown has done. He's starting to get those 50-50 balls instead of just, separating from DBs. That's what you need. Just lead by example. Yeah. And he saw A.J. Brown do it. Now he needs to start doing it. He has all the intangibles. I'm just looking for him to go out there and do it.
And he got the vote of confidence by making the roster.
Hey, they believe in him. Yeah. They talked about they believe in him.
Yeah. Time now to get the bird's eye view with our Dave Zangaro. He joins us from the NovaCare complex. And Dave, first off, it's rare on cut day that an addition is the biggest story for the Eagles as they trade for the corner, CJ Gardner-Johnson. When you think about adding him, all the additions on the defensive side of the ball, free agency, trades, draft, the defense has been really reshaped. How does he fit in, you think?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because we talk about all the additions to this team. You look at offense, it's really they added A.J. Brown. On defense is where they added so much talent from Hassan Reddick and Jordan Davis and Kaiser White, James Bradbury, and now Gardner-Johnson. No more excuses for Jonathan Gannon. He has every piece that he needs for this to be a really successful defense. And the key for him, and we've heard this buzzword around Gannon so much, is multiple. He has that multiplicity now. He has the ability to go matchup driven week by week. And Gardner-Johnson is just the latest example of that. I know that people are getting hung up on the fact that he played nickel in his last stop in New Orleans, but he's He's a versatile defensive back. They're going to play him at safety. And we've talked about it all training camp with guys like Josiah Scott and Andre Sastre. Those two positions kind of mirror each other, and Gannon even said that. So I don't think it's a big leap for him to now play the safety position here in Philly.
Yeah, Barrett, when you look at it, Dave makes a really good point. I mean, the additions have really come on the defensive side of the ball. How much better is this defense when you look at everybody they brought in, including Gardner-Johnson?
Well, he's put in a position now, Gannon, meaning he, is put in a position now that he's got to go out there and have a productive, very, very aggressive play calling from this point on. He can't sit back and be, back in zone or anything else. He has guys, quality guys, to go out there, 2 number 1 outside corners. He actually has 2 number 1 slot corners, and Devontae Maddox and now CJ. I mean, there's no reason why, even if you don't have a pass rush, you can't go out there and be aggressive in how you guys play those guys. They can go up and get in guys' faces because they can cover. They're true number 1. So I look forward to seeing him being more aggressive, even though he does have pass rushing, with the addition of Hassan Reddick and those guys. So this should be a very productive year for Gannon. It better be a productive year for Gannon.
Yeah, they certainly gave him all the tools when you look at it. And also when you look at the final cuts, Dave, what stands out to you as they get down to the 53? We were watching a couple of players, obviously Greg Ward. He was placed on injured reserve list. I'm going to get your thoughts on that. And then Devin Allen, he didn't make the cut. Those are probably the biggest names, you'd say?
Well, I mean, really, the flip side of the trade was the release of Anthony Harris. He went from being a presumed starter on this team to now off the roster entirely, so that was a pretty big one. Devin Allen is the big name. Everyone was kind of rooting for that guy. Ultimately, we'll see if he ends up back in the practice squad. He has enough skills, and that speed is something you can't teach. I think he'd be worth a practice squad spot. The biggest surprise to make the roster, and I heard you mention him, Barrett, was Josh Sills, the undrafted offensive lineman. I think they like him because he can play tackle, he can play guard, he's kind of a versatile player. And I was hearing some defensive linemen this season or this training camp kind of rave about him and how far he had come. So that's a surprise, but I'm not completely shocked by that. He's just the latest in all these players that Jeff Stalin has to mold now.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And he'll probably be talking to him and making a Pro Bowl in a couple of years if I know the way Stalin operates, like we saw with Jordan Mailata. Jalen Reagor, Andre Dillard, 2 players that had every type of rumor attached to them. Trades, cuts, you name it, in, out. They both make it. Your reaction to Reagor and Dillard being on this 53-man?
Yeah, we lumped them together because they're former first-round picks, but I think they're in very different situations because if you were to trade Andre Dillard, he's going somewhere to start, right? Whereas Jalen Reagor, if you trade him, you're basically saying good luck somewhere else, and you're going to try to end up as a backup on another team. So I think very different situations, even on this team. I mean, Andre Dillard is a valuable asset, whereas Jalen Reagor's kind of buried on this depth chart. He's the 5th receiver right now behind A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, and even Zach Pascal. So I think that there's still a possibility Reagor could get traded if the right offer comes along. Whereas with Andre Dillard, it would have to really blow you away to part with him because he's such a valuable piece backing up Jordan Mailata. And there's a really steep drop-off after those 2 guys. So I think if you're the Eagles, you have to be completely blown away by an offer for Andre Dillard to take it because he's too valuable the way he is on this team right now.
Jalen Reagor better be just consuming everything he can about being a great punt returner. He better.
It's still very fluid
yeah, I mean,
situation.
Maybe in that role, maybe he can just focus. I think the hope is like he can just focus on being a return man because we know unless someone gets hurt, he's probably not going to see much time on offense. So the optimist in you says maybe he can just focus on that and at least provide something in those areas. We don't have the proof yet in that area. We haven't seen him do it at a consistent level, so we'll have to see it. But I guess that's the hope right now for Jalen Reagor. It's like, all right, you're the punt returner, you're the kick returner, focus on that and give us something there.
Something to watch for sure on that front. It is still a lot of football decisions to be made with the season less than 2 weeks away. Dave, we appreciate you.
Thanks so much.
They're not done. They're not done.